Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths that is based on the advanced information given to us by the exam boards. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So if we do our place value grid, and so we've got units here, tenths and hundredths. Don't think we need any more. So we can put in our number, it's 5.87, and you can see here that the 8 here is in the tenths column. So the 8 represents 8 tenths. Multiples are just a numbers times table, so to write the multiples of 11, we're just going to do 1 times 11, 2 times 11, 3 times 11, 4 times 11, and 5 times 11. Now we're not going to do any more because it says it just wants the first 5. So I'm just going to write those down in a list with commas, separating them. So 55% is the same as 55 over 100. And what I can do is I can divide top one of the fraction by 5. And so that is going to equal 11 over 20. Now in total there are 20 squares here because there's 5 across and 4 down. 5 times 4 is 20. And if there's 20 squares and we're looking to shade in 11 20ths, it's just going to be 11 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. For us to create the smallest number, we need to pick the smallest digits at the start of the number. So the smallest digit is 3, then the next smallest digit is 4, next smallest digit is 5, then the next smallest digit is 8. But it wants it to be an odd number, and this is an even number. So we have to move that 8 forward 1 and have that 5 at the end. So the smallest odd number is 3,485. So a composite bar chart is where you'll stack the bar charts on top of each other. So we're going to start with this 12 here. And so I'm just going to do a bar up to 12. And these lines go up in 2s, so it would be there. And then we're going to do this females. So we've done the males, we're going to do the females. And the females is only going to be 1 high because they're going up in 2s. And we need a way of showing male or female. So what I'm going to do is just shade the female there, and I'm going to just draw a key. I'm going to say if it's not shaded, it's males. And if it is shaded, it's females. Okay, next we're going to do the 8 and the 4. So what you can do is just do the whole thing, then split it afterwards. So it would be like that. Shade in the females. And then finally we've got a 4 and a 12. And let's shade in the females there. Now don't spend forever on your shading, as long as it's clear which one's male and which one's female. Multiples are times tables, so the multiples of 2 are the times table of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc, etc. So the only number in this list that is in the 2 times table is the 6. This coordinate is telling us to go 2 to the left from the centre. We go right when it's positive, we go left when it's negative, so it's 2 to the right. And then it's telling us to go 1 up. It's up because it's positive. So we need to go 1 up, and we get to the coordinate of B. So the coordinate we get to is B. And so we just look at the -2 on the x-axis and the 1 on the y-axis, and that is where point B is. The key says that a circle represents 8 DVDs, and if we cut it up, then each quarter represents 2. So Monday had 8 and 2 and 2, which is 12. Tuesday had 8 and 8, which was 16. Wednesday had 8, 2, 2, 2, which is 14. And Thursday had 8, 8 and a quarter, which is 2, which is 18. But with a pictogram, you can actually just look to see which has the most of the shape. So if you look at Thursday, it has 2 and a quarter. Well, that's more than any of the other ones. All the other ones have 2 or less. So it's definitely going to be Thursday. So we can either use the calculator to work out what 1.2 cubed is, or we can do 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. Now if you want to use the calculator to go straight there, you're going to press or type in 1.2, and then normally there's a button that looks like this, X with a little 3, okay, and that will give you the answer. Or if you're not sure how to do that, you can times it by itself 3 times and you get the answer 1.728. So for this question we need to convert the percentage to a decimal. So to do that we get that 8.9%, and we just divide by 100, and so that will give us 0.089, and so we get that 0.089. Of normally means times in maths, so we just go times that by 457, and that will give us 40.67. To answer this question, we're going to find the answers to the numerator and denominator, then we're going to divide the two. So 3 plus 42 is 45. 5 times 3 is 15. And what this line means in the fraction, it means divide. So we're going to do 45 divided by 15. So I'm just going to go through the 15 times table and just work out that's 1 times 15, 2 times 15, 3 times 15. So 3 15s in 45. So in this question it says that 450 people are in total, and we know that represented by 360 degrees in a circle. But what I want to do is work out what 1 degree represents. So to get from 360 to 1, we divide by 360. So we're going to do the same on the other side. So 450 divided by 360 is 1.25, or 1 1/4. So 1 degree represents 1/4, or 1 1/4 people. Okay, and we're asked to find how many people answered no, which is 140 degrees. So we want to find out what 140 degrees is. So we obviously need to times that by 140, and we're going to times the other side by 140 as well. And when we do that, we get 175. So it'd be 175 people said no. So football is represented as a quarter of this pie chart. And so if there are 60 students altogether, we just do 60 divided by 4 to find a quarter of it, and that's 15. So there are 15 people who picked football. I'm going to start by writing out all the outcomes. So I'm going to start with trout. So for trout, as a main, I could have had biscuits for dessert. Trout as a main, I could have had cheesecake for dessert. Trout as a main, I could have pancakes as a dessert. Then I'm going to move on to a curry for main. So for curry for main, I could have had biscuits, could have had cheesecake, and I could have had pancakes. Now, to work out the probability, it's the amount of successful outcomes over the total amount of outcomes. So successful for this is a curry and pancakes. So curry and pancakes is a successful outcome, so it's just 1. The total amount are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the chance of me picking at random a curry and pancakes is 1 over 6. We've got to first of all find out what the y-intercept is, and the y-intercept is just where our line hits the y-axis. So the y-intercept, which we sometimes can call C, is 11. Now, what's that 11? What unit is it? Well, it's 11 pounds, because our y coordinate, our y-axis is in pounds. But what does that mean for the taxi company? Well, how many miles have been travelled on the y-axis? Well, 0. So at 0 miles, we've had to pay the taxi man or woman £11. So we know that therefore the taxi costs £11 at the start. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the initial charge, or the cost for the taxi turning up, is £11. A plane of symmetry is anywhere you can cut a three-dimensional shape, in this case a cuboid, and put it up against a mirror and it looks like the original shape. So if we were to cut the cuboid here and then put it up against a mirror, it would look like the cuboid again. Similarly, if we were to cut it along here, it would look like the original cuboid again. And finally, if we were to cut it up the top here, down, across the bottom here, and then up here, and put it up against a mirror, it would look like the original cuboid again. Now, you might think that diagonal ones will work with this. Diagonal ones only work with cubes, not cuboids. So our answer is 3. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here. And we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal, so we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149. And we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m, because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving. And so we've got a 13m and a 2m. So we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off. And so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next we're going to remove the number. So take away 39 from both sides. And we've got 11m is equal to 110. And then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x. And the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line. So they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in for the working out, I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all we know what m is, so it'd be 13 times n, which is 130, and then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in. And so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180. And we're going to just take that away from both sides, the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in, so v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself, so we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10, so minus 10, and we know w is minus 4, so it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first, and I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive, 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. First thing we need to do is work out the area of the wall. And so to do that, we're just going to multiply the 44 by the 40. So 44 times 40 is 1,760. And next thing we notice is that each tin covers 10 meters squared. So it actually means we can work out the fact that there are 1,760 meters squared in total for our wall. And if each tin covers 10 meters squared, then we will need 176 tins. That's the amount of tins we need. And each tin costs £5.70, so it'd be 176 times the 5.7, or yeah, £5.70, or you could do it as 570 pence and convert it at the end. And that gives us a price of 1003.2. And so as money, that would be £1,003.20. Rate is always something over time. So in this question, we can work out the rate as being the pay, or the final pay, or whatever, over time. Now we're asked what the time is, so we're just going to put the time on the left hand side, and we're just going to swap the rate and time over, so it will just be pay over rate. The pay is £180. The rate is £12 an hour. So it'd be 180 divided by 12, which is 15. So it'll take 15 hours. For each of these options, try and construct in your head the triangles that would be made from these lengths. And I'm going to give an example for question D, or for option D. And I'm going to construct my triangle just with sticks. So we're going to start off with our first stick, which is 19 centimeters. Then we're going to do another stick, which is going to be 37 centimeters. And we've got one last stick, which is 61 centimeters. Now, looking at the first two sticks, the actual combined distance of them, so when we add them together, so be 19 centimeters plus 37 centimeters, is 56 centimeters. So that's the combined width of them. And you can see that that actually wouldn't be able to create a triangle if the third stick is 61 centimeters. So the side here could combine with this side. So we could move this whole stick here onto this side here, but we can't actually make a triangle with it because the two lengths that we've got won't ever reach the end bit here. They just won't ever reach that bit to be able to create the triangle. And I'm just going to put that back. So our answer is option D. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012, So we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. To find the surface area of the cuboid, I'm just going to label the faces and do them individually. So we've got A, which is 24 by 13. So we're going to do 24 times 13, which is 312. Next we're going to do B, which is this one at the top, and it's 24 across and 8 is the length. So 24 times 8, which is 192. And finally C on this side here, which is going to be 13 times 8, which is 104. Now notice that the faces all have the exact same face on the opposite side. So this one at the back is also A, this one at the side is also C, and the one at the bottom is also B. So what I'm going to do is add up all the areas of the squares and double it. So to work out the surface area, we're going to do 2 times and then 312 plus 192 plus 104, and that will give me 1,216 centimeters cubed squared, because it's an area. The first piece of information I'm going to focus on is the fact Denver gets 8/19. Denver gets 8/19, that means that Engel and Fido together must get 11/19 because they have to add up to 1. So we're only looking at 11/19. I'm going to focus on the ratio next of Engel to Fido. So it's 9 to 5. And let's have a look and see, well, first of all, how many parts there are all together. So 9 plus 5, which is 14 parts. So there are 14 parts in total, and the share that they get is 11/19. So what I'm going to do is to find out what fraction one of those parts is worth by dividing 11/19 by 14. So each part is worth, and I'm just going to keep this into my calculator, 0.041 blah blah blah. And we're asked to find Fido's share. Well, Fido has 5 parts. So Fido has 5 parts, each of them worth 0.041 blah blah blah. I've kept it in my calculator to keep the accuracy, and when I do that I get 0.206 blah blah blah. Now we're asked to work it out as a percent, so I'm just going to times that by 100. So we have 20.676 blah 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 percent, and it wants it rounded to the nearest percent, so that would be 20%. Or actually it would be 21%, because this would round it up, so 21%. The lowest point on this graph is here, and that's at 0.6, and the highest point is here at 0.20. And we're looking for percentage change or percentage increase, and the formula is change over original times 100. So the change between the 6 and the 20 is 14. The original, the starting point, was the 6 and times by 100. And that gives us 233.333 blah 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 percent. And this 100 technically is 100% that we're timesing it by. So it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that would be 233%. So we're looking to write a formula for the cost in pounds of hiring a microwave for X amount of days. So the cost is C, so it's going to be C equals, and it says it's going to be 55 pence a day. Now, it wants the answer in pounds, so we need to convert this 55 pence into pounds. So that's going to be 0.55. And it's going to be 0.55 times the amount of days. Well, it says the amount of days is X. So it's going to be 0.55x. Then it says that there's just a one-off cost of £15. So you're going to have to pay £15 regardless. So we're just going to add 15 onto that. So the answer would be C equals 0.55x plus 15. It's important to remember our speed, distance, time triangle. So we've got speed equals distance over time. And here we are given a distance because from here we're 16 kilometers away from home. So the distance, let's just draw another triangle, the distance will be 16. And we're told that the speed is 32 kilometers per hour. So the speed is 32. So to find the time, we're going to do 16 divided by 32. So the time is a half an hour. And half an hour would bring us, if we start here, half an hour would bring us to 2030 because it's 8 o'clock where we start and we end, therefore, half an hour later. So there's a few different ways of working out this question, but they all involve working out the area of the cross-section. And the cross-section is the part here. So we want to work out the area of this. And what we can do, and this is one of the methods, is we can work out the area of the full rectangle, which will be 28 by 19. I'm going to call this A. And then we can take away the little part that is not there. So the missing part, which is going to be 14 across. We've got to do a bit of maths here to work out how high it is. So we've got 28 in total, 21 we don't want, so that would be 7 high. We're going to call this B. So work out the area of A. It's going to be 28 times 19, which is 532. Work out the area of B, which is going to be 98. And then to work out the area of the cross-section, we're going to do the big rectangle, take away the small one, take away the bit we have missing, and that will leave 434. Now the volume of any prism is area of cross-section, so cross-section area times the length. So our area of cross-section is 434. Our length is basically how 3D the shape is, so it's going to be 10. And so that would be 4,340. So our answer is 4,340 centimeters cubed. So if we imagine we've got the 25 meter pipe here, and we've got the 35 meter pipe here. The question's basically asking us what can we cut all these pipes into, and they all have to be the same length that will fit with the 25 meter and the 35 meter. And essentially what this question's asking is what is the highest common factor of 25 and 35. So to find the highest common factor, what we do is we just find the factors of 25, which is 1 and 25 and 5 and 5. And the factors of 35, which will be 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. And the highest common factor is the number in both lists, the highest number in both lists, so it's 5. So what we can do is we can cut all of these pipes into 5-meter pipes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, not to scale, and then 7 of these, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and so there's 7 in total. So each of these are 5-meter long, and there's no wastage. And that's the longest we can make the pipes for there to be no wastage at all. So my answer is 5 meters. So 7 times 10 to the power 4 is going to be 7, and it's going to be 70,000. And 9 times 10 to the power of 7 will be 90 million. And so when you add them together, you get 900700000. Now if you have access to a calculator, if this is on the calculator paper, then you can just type it into your calculator. Some people think there's a quick way of doing this, like adding the 7 and the 9. There isn't. You've just got to work out what this number is, work out what this number is, and add them together. So the only way of answering this question is to work out what these are as ordinary numbers. And so 7 times 10 to the power of 7 would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 9 times 10 to the power of 4 would be 90,000, so that would be 90000. And so we're just subtracting them like that. And so we'll get 6991000. And obviously if this is on the calculator paper, just type it into your calculator. There are no tricks here. You can't do anything with the 7 and the 9. You're not subtracting powers or anything. You're just literally typing in what it says. And there's a button on the calculator like that you will need to use. So if you don't know what that is, ask your teacher or ask someone to help you out with that. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angled triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148. We've just worked that out, and we're looking for c. In fact, we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared. And we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its 2 decimal places, so that would be 61.19. There's a lot going on with this question, so I'm going to start off just having a look at the total amount of money. So I'm going to do this in pence, so 2,115 pence. And if each merit point is worth 3 pence, then we can work out the amount of merit points by doing 2,115 divided by 3. So that gives us 705. So there's 705 merit points. Next, have a look at the question here, this part here, where it says James has X merit points. Sarah has 4 times as many points as James, so she's going to have 4x. Robert has 69 fewer merit points than James, so he's going to have x minus 69. And we know that that equals 705 because we've just worked that out. And this feels like a solving coming on. So we've got x plus 4x plus x, which is 6x. Minus 69 equals 705. And we're going to add 69 to both sides. So we've got 6x equals 774. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we've got x equals 129. So x equals 129. That means James has 129. Sarah has 4 times more, so she will have 516. And Robert has 69 fewer, so we're going to take 69 away from that, and that will equal 60. So I'm going to write the equation out, the formula out. And we're asked to make y the subject, so I'm just going to get my lines in. And so what's stopping us from having y on its own? Well, this minus 1. How am I going to get rid of it? Add 1 both sides. So we've got x plus 1 equals 9y. What else do we have that stops y from being on its own? Well, this times 9 here. So we're going to do the opposite, the inverse, which is divide by 9 both sides. And to do that nicely, what we do is we just do it as a fraction. X plus 1 over 9 equals y. So therefore y is x plus 1 over 9. So I'm going to start just by writing out the equation. And I can put my lines in. Okay, we're asked to make x the subject. So we're going to first of all add 10 to both sides. In fact, I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so I've got a bit more space. Okay, so we're left with m plus 10 on the left hand side, and we've got 1/7 x on the right hand side. Now to get rid of the 1/7, what I can do is just times both sides by 7. So 7 brackets m plus 10 equals x. So x therefore would equal 7 brackets m plus 10, but it says expand your answer fully. So we're just going to expand the brackets, 7m plus 70. So the distance initially travelled is going to be 14 kilometres for this stint here. And then we have a bit of a rest. A horizontal and distance time graph is essentially stopped. But then here we start up again to go home. And so that's another 14 kilometres travelled. So in total, there has been 28 kilometres travelled. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out. And we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440 because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets. So that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that would be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. So this question says that Adrian, Ben and Charlie have some sweets, and the ratio of Adrian to Ben to Charlie is 9 to 6 to 13. But it also says that Charlie got 56 more sweets than Adrian. So there's 56 more sweets. Well, looking at the actual parts of the ratio, there are 4 more parts. So plus 4 parts, which represent plus 56 sweets. So the 4 extra parts are worth 56 sweets. So 4 parts are worth 56 sweets. So 1 part would be 56 divided by 4, which is 14 sweets. So all we need to do now is work out how many parts there are. Well, there are 9 plus 6 plus 13 parts, which is 28. And each part is worth 14 sweets. So the total number of sweets will be 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 is 392. So here we can just draw in 2 extra lines, and we can see that it makes a right angled triangle. And we're asked to find the length of the line segment AB. So we're asked to find what this length here is going to be. And we know what the other lengths are. We know that this is 2 and this is 3. So we're going to be using Pythagoras. And Pythagoras, we start by labelling the sides A, B and C must be the one that's opposite the right angle. And so we know Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 2, b is 3, and 2 squared plus 3 squared is going to be 13. And then we're just going to solve that by square rooting both sides. So the square root of 13 is 3.605 blah blah blah. And it asks it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 3.61. So we're going to start by understanding that all lines form or can form an equation y equals mx plus c, with m being the gradient and c being the y-intercept. It says here the gradient is -2, so we've already got a bit of a head start with this, but we don't know what the y-intercept is. So we're going to use this first set of coordinates to work out what the y-intercept is. So y is -31 and x is 15. And we're going to use this to solve and find out what c is. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, just tidy this up. 2 times 15 is 30, so -30 plus c. And I'm just going to add 30 to both sides to get c on its own. So that would be -1 equals c. So c is -1. So we now know that the equation is y equals -2x minus 1. And we're told that the y is -37. And we're looking for the x value, which they've called w. So let's get our solving lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add 1 to both sides. And so it would be -36 equals -2x. I'm going to now times, or divide everything by -2. And a negative divided by a negative is positive. 36 divided by 2 is 18. And then obviously that gets rid of the coefficient of the x, so it's just x. So x equals 18. So the x value is 18 and the x value is the w value. So w is 18. There are a few different ways you could answer this question. I'm going to do it with a tree diagram, but you didn't need to draw a tree diagram to answer this question. So we've got our first tree, which is our first bus. And the choices are male and female. And we've got our second kind of branch, I suppose. And it's still male and female. And this is our second bus. So the property of male on a first bus is 9/15. And therefore the property of female is 1 minus 9/15, which would be 6/15. Male on the second bus is 7/15. And so female would be 8/15, because they need to add up to 1. And it's independent, so these will be the same. And the question is basically asking what is the probability that both will be female. So to have both female, we need to have gone down this line at the start and then this line again. Okay, so looking at the fractions along the way, it's 6/15 and 8/15. The word "and" in probability means times. So whenever you're finding the probability of getting to an outcome, so this outcome would be FF, because they're both female, you are multiplying the fractions that you go across. So it would be 6/15 times 8/15. So 6 times 8 is 48. And times the bottoms, 15 times 15 is 225. Now you can actually cancel that down. So what you can do is you can divide top and bottom by 4. And that will give you 16. Is it 4? No. You can times top and bottom by 3. And that would be 16/75. So either 48/225 or 16/75. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.